Hi everyone, welcome to Comic Book Corner. I'm Dan DeLatorre. Thanks for joining us this evening. I wanted to have a conversation about an aspect of collecting. Now that, after the pandemic, when there was a huge spike in prices and so forth, the prices overall, and I'm not an expert and I don't give you advice regarding investment and all that. I'm just a collector. But the prices are slowly moving up, and it scares a lot of people away from not wanting to collect, and I don't blame them. Again, they're very, very expensive. But if there's a number of techniques, and I'll be trying to profile some of these techniques, which helped me over the many, many years to gain a very, very prominent collection. I did it with patience, saving my money, and also looking for the right opportunities. But there's one aspect that really hasn't been talked about that much, and I think we should at least revisit this aspect of comic collecting. It has to do with the slab market, and that is the purple label. Before CGC opened their doors in 2000, everyone had this. This is an old price guide. I believe this is from the mid 80s or something, issue number 17. And if you open it, they're not that terribly expensive if you can find one. Back in my day, when I was collecting, restoration of comics was completely acceptable. In fact, there are companies that were very, very good at restoring comics, and they advertised in this Overstreet price guide. And they're still out there, by the way, but it was not just accepted, it was appreciated because, again, you want to preserve the comics. And this is one way to do it. And if you had the money to do that, again, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Well, there's still one company. I don't know how many companies are out there, but there's one, and it's a bit of a, not a scandal, but it's something I think CGC mishandled. There's a company that's so good that their restoration was undetectable by CGC. This company sued CGC because CGC, we said, we're not going to use you guys because you're too damn good. And there was a lawsuit. CGC lost, which they should, because it was a stupid thing to do. But again, you want to preserve these things here. But since the implement of CGC, we are a color-oriented society. The blue label is obviously something you accept. Then there's the green label, which I strongly recommend that you don't do. And now that they've reclassified, they being CGC, if you resubmit a book, you can turn that green label to a blue label. That's totally wrong. That's totally wrong. That's one of the main reasons I don't use them, because I don't trust them. For that and that lawsuit I just mentioned and a few other things. But when everything was humming, and I used to be a CGC fan, one of the things they created was, instead of accepting the restored labels, they gave it a purple label. And that sort of became something unacceptable. It went from being accepted back in this day to being unacceptable today. But if you're a collector, one of the things you have to ask yourself is, what are you willing to accept? See, I'm not one of those people that goes for the 9/8 for everything. The 9/8 is considered perfection, right? The only problem with perfection, it's expensive. And so if you're on a budget like I am, and I represent most people, we're all on a budget, but you still want a good collection, how do you get a good deal? Well, one of the things you might want to consider is the purple label. And I have a few examples here as to why I'm bringing this up. So let's start right here. I think I had these in order here. There's a purple label. I had, again, I'm a big Marvel Silver Age guy. And I had seen this, and I thought, wow, this is really pretty. This is Journey to Mystery Annual Number 1. First appearance of Hercules. I and many others of my era still think this is a great comic because Hercules was all over the place. He was a main character, still is, mostly with the Avengers. But you can see it's a 4.5 white pages, but a purple restored label. Now, there's sort of a mixed bag regarding their classification, what they consider restored. In this particular case, it says restoration includes small amount of color touch-up on cover. Now, I know CGC has techniques to look for flaws and so forth, but by the human eye, and I work with colors all day, that's part of my job. And I'm damn good at identifying colors. I still have yet to find where the color touch-up is. I'm not saying it's not there, but I'm saying I couldn't see it. Now, I paid, what did I pay for this? It wasn't much. Like $125. Now, you contrast that with this here. This is something I got not either before or afterwards. I forget what it was. Um, Same book, similar grade, a 5.5 white pages. Beautiful book, by the way. Absolutely beautiful book. So what's different with this here? I think I paid upwards of 500 or so. Oh, no, 550 is what I paid. $550 for this one. Because it was a bit of a hot spec, and I fell for that, the MCU would bring Hercules in. They're dragging their feet as they always do. But you put them side by side. Obviously, the 5.5 is prettier. But it's virtually the same book, and it's almost the same grade. Now, just as an aside with this, this is a 5.5. You look at it back and forth. It's absolutely gorgeous. The corners are sharp as anything. Why is this only a 5.5? It should be close to an 8. There is a half moon water damage at the very back of this thing. CGC knocks off about 2 points, maybe more for that. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's the way they classify things. But again, if you're on a budget and you can't afford $550, but you can swing 150, which I think I said that's what I paid for that, you can get this. So it all comes down to what you're willing to accept. The majority of my collection is, I only have a handful of 9/8. I do have some, when they pop up. But like I said, they're really, really pricey. Well, I'll do another video on this another day about for a 9.6 or 9.4. You can get some gorgeous comics, but that's for another video. But let me show you again some examples of what you get if you are willing to accept the purple label, and you really care about that. As long as, because that's how I feel. It's in my collection. I didn't pay that much for it, and again, I'm accepting that. I'm proud of these books here. I'm not ashamed of these books. People are ashamed of the purple label, and they shouldn't be. Here's a really good example here. This book here, they only wanted $300 for this. And I mean only $300 because I've seen some of these that are raw, that are trashed, and they were asking $1,000, $1,200 for it. Well, this is Fantastic Four number 12. Again, purple label. Now, this one has a lot of problems with it. It says, what is it? Top edge and corner trimmed. Okay, that's kind of a death knell. People don't care for that. Tape all over the place, that kind of thing. But, again, only $300, and it's a beautifully presenting copy. It is officially graded, so it's certified that this is what it is. And this is complete, and for $300, that's a steal. That's an absolute steal. But again, this all comes back to, would you accept this? Would you pay that? Because again, if this is a 1.5 blue label, in today's market, I don't know, $1,500. I'm just throwing out a guess here because that's what they were asking many years ago. I got this probably about 4 years ago. So again, you have to ask the question. We have to ask yourself a number of questions. What am I willing to accept? How much money do I have? And do I have a problem with it? Does the purple label bother me? Or are you going to sort of, fall to, public ridicule? Some people will ridicule it. It used to be on the show called The Hunt, and they would just rip to shreds the purple label. And I thought, that's stupid. That's also misinformation because, again, if you only have so much money, wouldn't you want to land something like a Fantastic Four 12? I certainly would. A couple more examples here. This is one of my better examples, by the way. Back in my heyday when I was buying ferociously, I was on eBay, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 times a day, at least. Just looking. You have to be persistent. You have to save your money, wait for the opportunity to present itself, and then make your move. When I saw this, I said, wow, they wanted $650 for this. And this is a Grail. This is very much a Grail. And it's Avengers number 4. First Silver Age appearance of Captain America. Now, there's two aspects to this. One, this is CBCS's version of a purple label because it says it's trimmed somewhere. One side is trimmed. Okay, so that's one thing that people really have a problem with, and I don't blame them. If something's trimmed, okay, it is what it is, and that's damages the book. But again, it's in beautiful condition, 4.0. signed by Stan Lee. Stan Lee, as I said in a previous video, has a very pronounced signature. So I hope that's coming in clear. Now, at the time, there was another 4.0 CGC, also signed by Stan Lee. They wanted 2,800 for it. And I'm thinking, again, being on the budget that I am, I'd rather take this. Because again, what are you going to do with these things? Just throw them away? That's true of any low-grade comic or comic that's damaged. They're not worthless. But it all comes down to the individual. And if you don't accept these purple labels, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no right or wrong answer. It's all up to the individual. But I'm just profiling today some of the finds that I've achieved over the many years by being patient and accepting. So I still love this. Avengers 4 signed by Stan Lee. Wow, that saved me a fortune. A few more, and then we'll wind it up here. This was I was just so delighted to find this one. This is a Golden Age book, and these don't come up very often. It is a purple label. If you want to collect Golden Age, they're damn pricey, but the most affordable ones are the Captain Marvel series from Fawcett, either Captain Marvel Adventures or Wiz Comics. And again, being patient and diligent, you find good deals there. This is a purple label that I got from Britain. Some guy was selling this. He only wanted 135 bucks for it. But look how gorgeous this is. This is Captain Marvel Adventures number 68. Classic C.C. Beck cover. I mean, that just screams that era. You know, Captain Marvel with all of his people he had to deal with in his career, in his life and all that. I was just tickled to get this. I really was. And 135 bucks was a steal. Again, it's a Golden Age book. So who cares if it has restoration? This is the same thing as that Journey into Mystery book. Small amount of color touch-up, which I can't find. I can't find at all. And again, I'm not saying that they mislabeled this. No, there's probably a color touch-up somewhere. I don't have the equipment they have. But I have the book, and it didn't cost me that much. And it's a Golden Age book. It's totally gorgeous. I got a raw copy of this. The cover wasn't as good as this one. It's a bit faded, just because I want to read the story. But again, it's acceptance and the finds. If you're on board with this sort of thing as I am, you can still find deals if you're willing to accept it. Because again, the prices are slowly going up, and that's not going to go backwards unless we have some sort of crash at some point, which is possible. But if all goes well, the comic book market, since I was a kid, has slowly gone, like any market, any collectible, slowly on the upward side. There's dips and all that along the way. But again, I know what I want. I'd rather have stuff, and I can say I have it. It's in my collection, and something I could afford. And affordability is very, very challenging. We'll end on this last one here. This is another Grail. I bought this raw. And at the time, this was on eBay. Somebody was selling it for 775 bucks. And on eBay, if you press buy it now, which it was a buy it now situation, you have 48 hours to make that purchase. Now, I'm self-employed. I didn't have the money at the time. And I have stellar credit on eBay. I didn't want to ruin it. One customer owed me some money at the time. It probably wasn't going to come in. If I bought it, I would have been late. And I lost it. Someone bought it, and that hurt. That hurt a lot, because it's like, damn it, that doesn't come up very often. But a month later, somebody put that same comic up for sale. They were flipping it, and they sold it for $998, just under $1,000. But it was one comic here, and it's still, I think, a great deal. And it's Avengers #1. Now, this has got tape all over it. I sent this to Tony Trombata from EGS. This is his version of restored labels. As I pointed out, CBCS and other grading companies have their different versions to describe what's what. But it is certified. It is an actual Avengers 1. This is an underrated book. I don't care what grade it's in, or blue label, not green label. Again, I avoid the green labels. But this, God, it should be way more expensive. I don't understand why it's not more expensive. This is, like I said, it's got tape all over it. It was restored. Someone did a pretty decent amateur restoration right around here on the spine. And Tony said, we can get rid of that and get rid of the restored label. I said, no, I bought it just like it. So I just keep it as it is. I'm very satisfied with this. Um, so anyway, here's a Grail. But my point is, guys, if you are willing to accept, and it's all up to you. These are examples of what you could bring home. Put it in your collection. Does anyone care? I don't care. I'm happy to have this. I'd rather have this than not have it and say, well, oh, it's restored. I'll pass on that. I'm not a snob. I'm not a comic snob. No, you want to preserve these. I don't care what condition they're in. But this is something you might want to consider. Purple labels are still out there, although they're kind of changing that around. Somebody said in the chat, you don't use CGC? No, because they keep goofing around with the way they classify things. But if you look, you'll find some of these or something even better. But this is something I just want to bring to your attention because these days, with the expense of comics, everybody needs as much help as possible. Everyone, thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know if you have any purple labels in your collection. Are you satisfied? Did you get a good deal on it? And let me know. So, anyone, thanks for joining. I'm Dan Latorre, and this is Comic Book Corner.